The first teaser for Stage 2 of Steel Ball Run just dropped, and it made me start thinking about how different it will be from the manga. The first episode of Steel Ball Run made significant changes to the way Stage 1 is structured and presented, so it would be safe to assume that more of this will be seen with the Stage 2 adaptation. But what kind of changes will David Pro make? And what stuff that was cut from Stage 1 will actually carry over to Stage 2? A hint that is giving me hope for this is the newly released character sheets. If only I could actually, like, view said character sheets. Like, what is this? Oh, if it isn't today's sponsor. No, I'm kidding. I'm kidding. So the face Steel does when he breaks his terrible dad joke is in here, making me think that the beginning of Stage 2 might feature the ice sculpture instead, which also gives me hope for the little horses. Please, please, please salvage the little horses. There's a figure of this panel, but it's not in the anime. Like, David Pro, please give us the little horses back. I beg of you. Something big that I noticed was the turquoise tone that gave the devil's palm. After looking more into it, I think it might be connected to the Native American myth. The color blue symbolizes sky, water, and spiritual power, often presented by sacred turquoise, signifies life, protection, and connection to the divine. A very cool detail, and I would not be surprised if David Pro did this on purpose. I feel a big chunk of the first half of Chapter 12 will be cut, with mainly Gyro's penalty and him retaliating and ruining Steel's champagne bottles being the main bit that's left in the episode. I'm also curious about the conversation which follows into the next chapter, where they discuss the homicides and the potential criminal inside the race, with Mountain Tim will either be reduced drastically or moved around, as it is a bit of a pace breaker. So far, gore has been handled pretty well in episode 1, so I'm assuming this won't be censored. At least it doesn't seem to be in the teaser. I'm praying this dumb little interaction with Gyro winging the whole path thing is left unaltered. I feel the way this whole scene is handled will set a precedent to how much Johnny and Gyro's interactions will be kept intact in the anime. Pretty curious what kind of sound design they will end up going for the Choya cacti. Maybe something akin to a gunshot? One major change I'm expecting in this arc is the origin of Mrs. Robinson. The way he modified his body to raise insects kind of defies human biology and is never actually referenced to be tied to a stand. This is one of the few abilities in Steel Ball Run that doesn't actually fit in the world building, nor do we see anything like it ever again. I expect a change on how he controls the bugs and maybe where they come from as well. I can't see David Pro giving this guy an anime original stand or anything like that, and I kind of wouldn't like it either. I also expect Marco's introduction to be cut and moved to later, where we find out the whole story around him. David Production is prioritizing pacing quite a lot, and it kind of ruins the mystery behind Gyro. I can see them withholding info like this for a bit later, just how like they avoided showing Heya in episode 1. I kind of don't want this to happen, but I fear the weird anesthesia choking perversion thing this guy from the Boom Boom family has going on will be somewhat altered or slightly obscured. Then again, this is going to be on Netflix, so maybe they will include the more obscene stuff in this adaptation as well. Also, I just want to take a moment here and just appreciate how well they did the iconic cracked panel in the teaser. This shot from the Deathly Sun was also pretty spot on to the manga. Tim's stand origin I also expect to be moved, but the three aren't actually seen conversing after the Boom Boom fight is over, and if they don't move Gyro's past, it will be Exposition back to back. Even if it is a pace breaker, I'd rather they kept it this way, to be honest. So far, the interactions with the little staff guys have been reduced, so I expected this little interaction Oyakomova has with them to be shortened or omitted. From here on onwards, the pacing gets a lot better in the manga. The fight with Oyakomova is great, and it's where Steel Ball Run really starts going for most people. Well, that and Scary Monsters, but we'll get to that one later. This conversation about the zombie horse might be omitted or altered for pacing issues, but I hope it doesn't. I love how they butt heads in the early parts of Steel Ball Run. It makes the way they grow closer even more wholesome and important. I expect the bombs in the water to be a mix of CGI and 2D and more kinetic and fast-paced shots. I'm not sure how they will handle that with the in-between frames where they explode. CGIBs? Hopefully not. Who knows? But it is a possibility. Expecting some sublime Sakuga shots from the climax of this fight. So Gyro's past is segregated between the end of the Boom Boom fight and the fight after Oyakomova. From the way they have handled backstories in previous parts, I do think they might make one big episode out of this and include it right after the Oyakomova fight, and end said episode with the reveal of the zombie horse. Same goes for the Joseph of Arimathea subcontext in the beginning of the Tusk arc. I expect it to be moved. For Stroheim, I expect the same voice actor and the same soundtrack to be featured, just like they did it with Abdal. Just some harmless fan service to be followed by some absolute cinema. I cannot wait for the memes this panel will give us when it gets animated finally. Really curious how they will animate the corpse going in and out of Johnny in these scenes, and how they will handle the sound design. Maybe there will be a certain leitmotif to be used anytime the corpse or the saint is referenced in any way in the soundtrack that accompanies these scenes. That would be really cool. I expect the map of Arimathea panels to be moved somewhere here where Steele mentions the corpse for the first time. And now the thing so many of us have been speculating so much about, the reveal of Funny Valentine. Will he be fat or shredded? So far, David Pro has always opted to go with the final design of certain characters, which I have not always been a fan of. In part 4 with our protagonists it made sense, but with others it personally didn't. For me, Funny's original design being kept intact is important, because he sports this design for 2/3 of Steel Ball Run. It's not like other characters like Anasui that were briefly shown and then had their design and gender altered. Funny has many panels where he clearly looks nothing like his final design. Araki has actually dodged the question to why he gets six-pack shredded in the final third of part 7, so him swapping bodies with a double from another universe is actually a viable theory to why his appearance changes. David Pro changing what Funny looks like changes the world building around the mystery of his stand, and I would really dislike that. Plus, he radiates this disgusto, corpo, fat cat energy, which I just love to hate about him, which I feel he loses somewhat with his later design, and as a result, loses part of his characterization. What do you guys think? Am I being too nitpicky here? Do you want Funny's design to stay intact, or would changing it and prioritizing uniformity in the anime be better? If Tusk Act 1 is not pink, we riot. I'm just kidding. Or am I? Honestly, I don't expect much to change about the Tusk fight. Maybe Pork Pie Hat Kid's design will be cleaned up a bit. I always felt he looks a bit funky compared to other villains. Kind of how the Superfly guy looked a bit more belonging in the anime. His original look I felt clashed a bit with the other characters. I kind of feel the same thing for the kid. Kind of low-key looks like a knockoff of 2D from Gorillaz, but like in a good way, I think. The bit of the end of the Tusk arc where the saint is mentioned, I'm expecting some kind of hint or silhouette of Jesus to be flashed. David Pro has hinted things more vividly than the manga does, so maybe the earlier scenes pertaining to the saint might be a bit more heavily leaning on the Jesus part. I know I'm kind of cheating by mentioning this, since Scary Monsters mainly takes part in Stage 3, but the beginning of the first chapter of Scary Monsters is included in Stage 2, so I'm counting this one. Plus, I don't want to wait to mention this. At this point, I feel it's a given that Scary Monsters will be CGI to some extent. A mix of CGI shots and traditional animation is what I'm expecting, similar to the approach they took with the horses. Scary Monsters is such a frantic and fluid arc, but with how good the CGI has looked so far, I genuinely have no worries. My faith in David Pro is unwavering. Well, when it comes to the anime, not the release schedule anyways. So what do you guys think will change in Stage 2? Are there some changes you're looking forward to, and or maybe some you're dreading? Personally, I'm kind of low-key not worried at all after how good episode 1 was. David Production touched Mappa and Madhouse with that first episode, and I'm rooting for them to continue this strong with the next episodes. I will be covering the next stages, so if you liked the video and want to see more where that came from, a like and a sub would be also dandy. And if you really want to support your guy, comment would help me so much. Comments help the video get farther in the algorithm more than anything else. Plus, I love chatting with you guys in the comments. Easily one of my favorite things while doing this thing, honestly. Also, I want to thank my good friend Nettle for drawing my new PFP avatar. He looks exactly how I wanted him to, like my favorite iteration of Link from that old internet fan art. Go show them some love on all their socials. If you ever need a commission, I can confidently say you're in good hands. And with that, I'll catch you guys in the next one. But until then, stay safe and hope you have a nice day.